Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Dynamite Shirt Printing, Kyle Metz. What a guy. He came on as a sponsor, and my primary use for him is drop shipping. So what that means is that I don't got to buy inventory. I don't got to buy a bunch of t-shirts. Kyle handles it all. So it's ordered online, and then he prints it and ships it, and he handles everything. And it works out for both parties. If you're looking for something else like general screen printing, he handles that. He does embroidery. He does direct to garment, DTG, which means you can do one-offs, and there's no minimum on that. Kyle's been able to help a lot of businesses that I've been funneling to him just to get going and to, start up. I mean, you don't want to order 100 t-shirts when you're just coming out the gate. And Kyle can handle small orders, large orders. He can handle everything you need. That's Dynamite Shirt Printing, and it's dynamiteshirtprinting.com. Go check it out. My favorite skate shop in the Valley, 5anddimeeaston.com. You can shop online or in store. Their address is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sundays, 11 to 5. They carry clothing, shoes, boards, accessories, and more. You can get complete decks down there. They got grip. They got some local clothing down there as well. I know a couple guys that came on the show that they're now selling stuff in store, and they're exclusive to Fucked. They are doing so much for the independent skate community. They're doing so much for the DIY. They're doing a lot in the area with skateboarding, and I couldn't be prouder to have them as a sponsor. Their story is incredible, from starting it when they were 18 and then coming back later in life to opening up what the store is that they wanted. And the two guys down there are just incredible. I can't say enough good things about them. I love that they're a sponsor, and they really help out in the community. And if you skate or want to support them, please go check them out locally. It is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Online, it is 5anddimeeaston.com. Please go check them out. All Valley Rooter, Jared LaBarba, friend of the show, childhood friend, Never Again Studios official plumber. 24-hour emergency services. 610-762-1656. That's 610-762-1656. They charge by the job, not by the hour, and they are 100% fully insured. They have free estimates. They also do installation and repair. They have a list of things. I can't go over them all on here, but you can find them at allvalleyrouter.net. All of Jared's services are on there. It's a beautiful website. You can contact him through that website. You can find out how to do, emergency services. Where should I call? Who should I contact? You can get all that there at allvalleyrouter.net. Free estimates, fully insured. Jared LaBarba. Check him out.
I'm Mark. They call me Rip. Rips Auto Detail. You can find me on Instagram, Rips Auto Detail, RIPS Auto Detail. You can hit me, Mark, at ripsautodetail.com for my email. So if you want to call me, 484-553-1366. Social medias, really, you'll see most of what I'm doing. But for the business, give me a follow on Rips Auto Detail. Watch what I'm doing. If you're interested in paint corrections, ceramic coatings, anything in the Lehigh Valley as far as highline aesthetics for your vehicle. We're not talking cheap stuff here, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It just is what it is. I've been working at this for a long time, and if you want someone to take a prideful approach to the aesthetic care of your vehicle and really turn you out a product that you haven't experienced with someone else before, give me a shot, man. It's a one-man approach, and everybody gets the same level of devotion. Obviously some jobs cost more and some less, and you've got to draw a fine line there. It's easy to really obsess over things and go too far sometimes and over-deliver. It's never really a bad thing, though. So give me a shot.
Very similar to what we're doing already. Sure. Never Again Radio. No clue what episode this is. Welcome, gentlemen, to Never Again Radio. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful weather today. Thank you for coming out in the storm. I met you guys a couple weeks ago and got to check out both of the restaurants. And on this episode, we wanted to kind of get into Notch and how that got started. And I'm just interested to see if it started from White Orchid or you guys were working together. So before we get into anything, just kind of introduce yourself and what role you have, and then we'll kind of pick up from there.
Sure. I'll go first. Yeah, go for it.
My name's Jesse Pesolano. I'm the general manager of Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar.
And I'm Jeff Virajanapa. I'm the owner of Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar.
Did you guys, how did you guys get introduced to start working together? Because you seem very cordial and you guys seem like you're friends. So, like, where did the project with the two of your lives crossing begin?
Well, we were doing an interview process over at Notch, and at the time, Notch wasn't built yet, totally in heaps. We were tearing apart this old school. It was basically back in the day was the first school in the village of West Coastville. So it was just like the dungeon down in the basement, super small and everything like that. And we were just finding all these things here and there. So all the interview process was at these apartments right behind the restaurant. And Jesse was coming in for an interview for a management position, and he had this super smooth blue blazer on.
He dresses smooth. He's very smooth.
Very, very nice looking. And
I like that.
And he comes into this apartment, which is also we had just taken over the property, so it had like 2 apartment complexes behind it, and this place was super run down. There was like really old carpet floors. Yeah, no air conditioning. This guy strolls in like super nice looking into this apartment that was like in shambles as well too, and he's talking about coming for an interview, and I was like, oh, this guy's ready to roll. So yeah, we had a good interview and kind of went from there. So we kept in touch, just the personalities, everything kind of came together really nicely, and kind of hit it off from the very beginning.
Yeah.
What was your perspective going in? Were you nervous? Were you second guessing it when you saw the shambles he's talking about? What was the process for you coming in there?
I wasn't nervous. The way actually that I found out about Notch, I was working at a different restaurant in the Promenade Shops, and the first chef of Notch, I saw him walk by one day, and I knew him from working at the casino, so I waved. And then I saw him a second day, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I saw him a third day in a row, and I was like, you know what? We're not busy. I'm going to go see what's going on. So I went outside. I talked to him. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I got this new gig. We're opening up this new restaurant in Lower Macungie. And I wasn't super satisfied with where I was at the time. So I said, half kidding to him, I was like, oh, do you have a spot for me? And he's like, oh, I would love to. And we kind of laughed it off. And I didn't think about it. And then a week later, Jeff called me and said hey, would you be interested in coming to check it out? And I was like, absolutely. So then, yeah, I came into that hot apartment building. And he might say I look smooth in the suit, but I was sweating buckets.
Yeah. I'm sweating now. I sweat constantly. The first thing you said when you got down here is, could you make it so I don't sweat?
Or less red.
Yeah. I'm always a shade of red. When you guys started kind of getting the restaurant together, what was your vision of it? Because it's a very unique place. There's a lot of things I want to get into later in the interview about what I enjoyed with my experience there. But what was the general idea? Because I know you're coming from White Orchid and you want to do something different. So what was your vision with opening this in the Valley?
So when we opened White Orchids, that was 12 years prior to opening a Notch, and doing Thai food and getting in the realm of just cooking and serving one type of food. Kind of, when we wanted to expand down the line, we kind of wanted to not be just in the niche of doing Thai food for the next venture. And hearing feedback from the guests at the Promenade, we'd love for you to do this or try this out. And when I met Jesse and he was at the Promenade and bumped into the original chef and everything like that, we were doing all our R&D and stuff at White Orchids, also at the Promenade shop. So we were kind of experimenting with different American fusion style dishes in the kitchen after hours when we
it's great you had that opportunity to do that.
Because the kitchen at Notch didn't open up until basically after all the interviews, so we were kind of like behind the 8 ball on opening up the kitchen at Notch, but we're fortunate enough to be able to do a lot of the R&D and test stuff at White Orchids when everything kind of just shut down and everything. And we just wanted to explore a little bit more on White Orchids, Thai food. You have your noodle dishes, your curries, and the focus is on a lot of the the starches, like your noodles, your broths and stuff like that. And usually the proteins and meats are kind of like in the back burner or an afterthought. So we kind of wanted to focus a little bit more on center of the plate items, your steaks, your scallops, being able to do that, and then also combining the Asian fusion elements with the center of the plate items, and also being able to offer the handheld items that you can't really do in a Thai restaurant. Your burgers, your chicken sandwiches, and all that stuff. On social media, Instagram, seeing like that great, dripping chicken sandwich, handheld. Just that's kind of the stuff that I was like, it'd be great to be able to do that and mix that up with, some Asian elements, different sauces, different things, and combine it to make something really cool and unique and everything.
I like that you kind of like wanted to do more, and instead of like changing a restaurant because of the demand of the people or because of an idea, you kind of wanted to just start a new palette and then be able to work over there, which I think is way better than forcing a new idea into something that's already been established.
Right. We've had a lot of people like, oh, White Orchids is doing so great. Why don't you just open another White Orchids? At the property that is Notch now, and it just wouldn't be, to me, challenging. I'm not on the precipice of being old yet, so I definitely wanted to try something that was that was a little out of our box, and
Still
also
out of
something that
window.
out of my box, out of the box, and also like a little bit more, not being cornered into a niche that's can't grow. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of the thought of Notch and everything, and being able to do things outside of my comfort zone, a lot of people's comfort zone in the valley too. So we've really focused on doing some really cool things at the bar, some different items and different food options. We do a chef's table as well too. That's not really done in the valley, so we kind of wanted to be able to have a lot of options that are just things that a lot of us have wanting to do that's unique and different and stuff like that, offer something that's cool. Yeah,
I mean, I love that, because the more things that you bring to the valley that aren't in the valley, and the more you push yourself with that chef's table, the more it starts putting a bar and a level for other businesses. And if anything, it's only going to push the valley to be in a creative spot with things that I think it's missing. And I love that you want to push the boundaries and do different stuff, because you draw from experiences you have or from ideas, and to take those steps is way more challenging than to just open another restaurant that would work, instead of being super creative, adding more dishes, having a second restaurant to the valley. Like, to me, it's a no-brainer to do that, but to some people it's like, oh no, just do another restaurant.
Right. I mean, that's just like you're doing a build out of a new place, 3 different studios, just kind of push the envelope a little bit of what everyone's accustomed to in the valley. And I was just talking to Jesse the other day. We're getting schools out, summertime's in full swing, and we're getting guests that haven't been to the restaurant before, so different expectations, different personalities, and just adjusting to people coming to check out something that's different than what they're used to, so it's always kind of like, and it's good to have a person be able to bounce off those ideas too, because you have to have a good balance of great people to work with and that understand where I'm coming from, and where kind of like the valley is also looking to experience, and that being able to offer that in all different ways. So
yeah, and now to be able to transition into you saying about having somebody to bounce that off of, like, it takes a specific type of person to understand a vision and a visionary. And I mean, just how you dress and carry yourself, as it might be normal to you, is I love it because it's like outside the box and not a lot of people do it. So for him to have such a creative person like that, where does your creativity and the way you carry yourself from, and like what were the things that you did in order to get to where your job is now?
Specifically, I've been in a bunch of different places. I've worked in corporations.
Can you just pull it a little bit closer to the mic?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're all right. Perfect.
I worked at 2 different casinos for a very long period of time. And then...
Did you like casino work?
I did. I mean, I did it a total between the 2 places over 11 years.
Damn.
So, and like that was when I was a very young man. I started managing there when I was 21.
That must have been crazy.
It was crazy. You got to see a lot of things. I got to meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
It was very heavily structured, though.
Yeah.
So once I came to the Valley, and then I got out of the second casino, and I started doing privately owned places, it was fun to see where you could take what you learned and what you were trained for with the corporation, and then work with someone like Jeff, who is like, okay, you have the skills and you have the personality, let it loose. Like,
yeah.
Like, this is what Notch is about. We're always in constant communication. We have meetings every week. We talk after the shifts. Like, so to go back to your question, like Jeff would say, very casually, what do you think if we introduce, like, example, at first, it was the street tacos or something for our lunch menu. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. How do we do it Asian fusion? And then we would shelf that conversation. And then we would meet up again, and Jeff would be like, you know what? Some of our chefs were working on a really cool appetizer. What do you think about it? And I'd say, like, well, it would probably be good with this. And it's just, that's how we operate, like, between the culinary team, himself, Neil, Byron, like, we all bounce ideas off each other. And I think it really shows on the newest menu, on our summer menu.
It's so huge. I've worked in so many different food places, and I've had that reputation, or that I've had that back and forth with other cooks in the kitchen, and then sometimes it doesn't go well with the owner, and they're like, what do you want to do all this stuff for? Because it's a very basic place you're at.
Right.
But when you guys are doing like something that you're doing, and like to be able to bounce off of each other, and everybody's in a creative way helping create the dish, I think that's when you really get to like different things that like are really important for building a restaurant or a menu out. Like, you have to have that open communication, and then the more creative people you have, that's really where you get to like the best option of building something instead of just one person's vision, because you're bringing 4 or 5 in. Well,
yeah, so we're all, we've all been in the hospitality field for a long time. So like, between the 4 of us and the culinary crew, who is also, in the industry for a long period of time, like, if we're bouncing off each other and we all like it, then chances are the guests are going to like it. Or if, we see there's something that needs to be tweaked, chances are half of us are going to see it. Maybe the other half feels different because everyone's got different palates, but, we can tweak it in a way that works for everybody. So,
yeah, I think that's also after that bouncing back R&D phase with a bunch of people, which is great. We always try to do the lineups where all the staff then gets to try the dishes and see if things work and not work, and then we'll continue doing those for a couple weeks, just tweaking those items so that it gets better and better, and then the guests can see that as well too. So it's just nice that it comes from a lot of different people and not just a one-man show kind of thing, Right. And I think that's with Notch, which is what I really wanted to do, was be I didn't want to be the big brains behind it, That's why we have Jesse, we have Byron, we have Neil, we have people, and our bar team's amazing, our kitchen crew is awesome, and I think one thing that right before COVID and stuff like that, when we opened Notch, I think like 6-7 months before COVID hit and everything.
That's fun.
Yeah. That wasn't scary at all.
No.
And I mean we're busy. I mean, we were busy and with new restaurants and everything like that too. As all of us know, and being in the industry that new restaurants have just a plethora of people that you always overhire. You know what I mean? So the one thing with when Jesse came on board was and I think Notch has a great reputation for having great staff, friendly staff, people that are invested and also exude that when they talk with guests, interact, and everything like that. And when Jesse came on board, that was the one thing that we wanted to definitely change when we first opened. Just kind of make sure the people that are at Notch are invested and are those the keepers and everything like that. And through COVID and stuff like that, we really kind of also continued that as well. So I feel like those 2.5 years after is like these people are it's a family team. We you do trivia nights on Mondays.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit too old for on that side. I'm gonna make it out there one day.
We're gonna go out. We're gonna have a good one. But yeah, what Jeff was saying too, and like I know everyone when especially when they come on and they got to promote their restaurants, they say all these great things, but like we really do have lightning in a bottle, because what we developed, and it's a lot to Jeff's credit, is it's an atmosphere where when you come in, like guests see it, that we all get along, we joke around, we're laughing. Half the time guests are looking at us behind the bar being like, can we join in? Like, not that we don't include them, but like, and the reason behind that is, one, for an owner, Jeff is not like previous owners I've worked for before, where it's like, hey, if you screw up, you're out of here.
Yeah, it's weird when people put that pressure on you.
And like a lot of people in the industry have that mentality that like if you do that, you're gonna get the best out of your staff, and it's like, no, that's not how it works. Mm-mm. And that's not how he is, and that's not how I am. It's like we have a level of expectations. Like obviously, first and foremost, we want to make the guests happy, but it does not have to be a miserable time. Like you don't have to punch your card and be like, hey, I'm gonna work this shift, hopefully I make $150, $200 and I'm getting out of here. It's like, no, it's like you come in, you're working with friends, you're working with, we're open 7 days a week, you're seeing the same people, and if you're happy, your guests are going to see that and they're going to enjoy it better.
Yeah, there's so much truth behind that. I mean, I've worked in so many places where they don't allow it, or they only let it breathe in one place, like the kitchen. But you can really see when you walk in there, it's a very stress-free atmosphere, and you're welcomed immediately. And then there's the decor and art and everything and how it's set up. And I was like, man, I was saying to Brooks, I'm like, yo, this place is so cool. And my favorite place is to sit at the bar. And I've always been a table person until a friend of mine who I started going out with all the time, we would just go to different places in Easton, and I'd be like, oh, let's get a table. And he's like, no, the bar is where it's at. You're going to have constant attention. If you have a good bartender, they have a story, they're talking to you. And then I fell in love with sitting at a bar. So when we sat at the bar, I was like, this is so comfortable. There's leg room. And then when we started ordering cocktails, I was like, man, like this is, like I said to him immediately, I'm like, I would just come back here and sit at the bar. I would just come back here and sit at the bar. And but then when I started seeing the tables and how that was, I was like, oh, well, that's its own experience. Then you see the chef's table, and I was like, man, like this is really something that's together, and the atmosphere alone is so inviting. And then everything you said about the staff was true. Like our bartender was terrific, and then we started talking, and she's going to nursing school, and but she's going to nursing school full time, but cares that much about us, and was like, do you need to know the ingredients for the drink for the post? And like it was really felt like it's somebody you're about to be friends with, and that's not normal to get in every restaurant. And I won't go back to some places if it's the reverse of that and there's zero interaction at all, because I like the interaction at a bar. I'm going there to get away, so you like talking to people. You want to disappear into the atmosphere. You want to be distracted by the ambiance of it, and you guys really hit a home run with that place.
Yeah, thank you. That bartender you were referring to too, and this comes to, I think, what makes us, special and unique. I had worked with her prior at the casino, and what we had done was, some of those people followed me from other places. Yeah. And then, for a good period there, when Jeff was like, let's staff this baby up after COVID, figuring out how many we need, what we need where, we just did pipeline hiring. And it was, hey, you do a great job. Do you have any friends? Yeah, I have a friend. They come on. They do a great job. Do you have any friends? And it does create a staff that, like, you don't have to be a disciplinarian. You don't have to be a jerk, because they all have the same attitude of, I don't want to be the one that's making less than 20% tips. I don't want to be the one that's not doing side work or, people are complaining about, because they're all, they're friends and a family.
And if they're friends with each other, or it's like you almost build an internal network between employees, and then now they have like a thing that they're going to. So it's like not like,
Right.
oh, I'm going to work. Oh, well, so-and-so's working. So it's like there's another level of enjoyment because they're going to experience work with a friend. And I think that's huge to do too. Yeah. And when you don't allow that to happen and you just kind of have a bunch of people, especially if they don't work together well, it really creates a terrible experience, which then either flows on to how they're serving you or how they're cooking food.
Exactly.
For me cooking, like I didn't realize how much it changes the mood that you're in. Like if I go up to my mom's and make food and I'm mad and I just serve them stuff, they're like, hey, thanks. But if like I'm taking my time, I'm putting an extra 40 minutes into the meal, they're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And then that's when I realized, like, when you're serving in that industry, it's like the emotion of what you carry goes so far into so many aspects of the business, your tip, how the food tastes.
Right.
It's pretty crazy when people don't get that your mood is dictating on how it's going to go.
Right.
And that's one thing too, about, speaking of mood, at the both restaurants, we do a playlist, basically. Like it's a staff playlist. I think the main crew, the management we started just putting together a bunch of songs that we really liked and everything like that, and then the staff also add different songs as well too, and so when you go into Notch or Wet Orchid, it's a mixed compilation of songs that we all as a staff put together, and you see that in the vibe of I think Andrea took care of you, and she has different songs on there as well too. You can kind of just see the energy. I mean, music's a huge part of
it's huge.
Everyone's life and stuff. So like when you have that as the mix of your day, when you're doing this or doing that, heading to the kitchen to get dishes, and you have your favorite songs on and stuff like that, it just makes your mood better, and you can see it in the interaction of guests.
Yeah, well, it's funny you brought that up, because then when we were there, you were interacting with her and you guys were talking about music while we were behind the bar, and the music is so important to me. I listen to it nonstop. The only time it's not really playing is when I'm sleeping or podcasting, but it's such a huge part of my day, and you can dictate moods and you can go back to times and you had in your life by just a song. But when we were sitting there, we were enjoying the music, and then when you guys were going back and forth, but what a great idea, because then if you have an employee and you don't know what they're going through during the day, and then their song comes on, it's like that one, just a little bump to be like, hey, your day's gonna be over, or it's just starting, and what a great time we're gonna have.
And then, like, when you were saying talking behind the bar, like, I'm a huge trivia nerd. I love soaking in everything. So, like, whether my staff asks me or not, like, if a song comes on, I'll be like, hey, did you know that this song is about this? And it was written by this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think that's what you might have been doing.
Most likely.
Yeah, but that's cool to interact with somebody like that.
Yeah, and that's another thing I really enjoy about Notch, because I've worked in so many places where it's elevator music.
Yeah.
Like, you're walking around, you try to tune it out. It's the same couple of no words, just rhythms, and you're just like, it does affect your mood. So like when you're there and a hit song comes on or something fun, like you're singing along in front of people and you don't even realize it.
And there was people at the bar who were like, oh, all right, I remember this song.
But then guess what?
Yeah.
They do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then with that, the list, like you said, it was created by him, myself, Neil, and like servers and all this input. So we've had guests say like, hey, this playlist is great, but what's the theme behind it? I was like, you got music from the 60s, you got music from yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, the theme is music you want to hear while you drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like, the thread line of that too is that with the kitchen team, the culinary team over there at Notch, when we were, everything was in shambles and we were just gutting everything. We were putting all the speakers on all the wires together in the restaurant, and the one thing that was like, I really want to have separate music for the kitchen. So the kitchen staff, we have like I think 3 or 4 like ceiling speakers in the kitchen.
That's so huge for a kitchen.
and those guys have their own playlists, and they have their own because like you've been in the kitchen, we've all been in the kitchen.
I've been in kitchens where somebody told me I can't play music.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done here.
So this is like hey, open up your Spotify or whatever, and you connect, and you run the music in the kitchen for the day or whatever, so it's that ambiance exudes past the your day-to-day work and your grind and stuff like that. And after like when it's peak busy time, you hear that the crescendo of your song that you're playing, like everyone just gets really in it.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and it's separated. When we first designed the chef's table at Notch, we decided to link the kitchen music into the chef's table, which was at the time, pre-COVID, really cool, because when we were doing chef's tables, it was a communal table, so it was like a communal table of 10, 12 people, and you can kind of, you said 2 people, and then like right next to you said 2 people and 2 people, 2 people. So it'd be like full chef's table, and it was fun. And the super busy Saturday, we had run the chef's table, which is a separate menu from the regular
I like
kitchen
that you do
menu
that too.
And so on Saturday it's super busy cranking, and the music of the kitchen's into the chef's table, and you can see the kitchen like bouncing around doing a bunch of stuff, like really busy, and it kind of just gets you in that mode and the feel of what they're going through as well too. And then out comes out like a really awesome, like well put together entree for you, and you can see that they're really cranking, but at the same time this super special dish comes out for you, just for you, not for like the regular menu stuff. So it was cool. And then when COVID hit, we kind of like took a step back from the chef's table, and we kind of like reimagining it now as we're only getting right now we're getting like anniversary tables coming in for a special dinner or something like that, and you have like someone celebrating their like 15th anniversary, just 2 of them. I was thinking, I don't know if they want to be listening to like this hardcore music in the kitchen celebrating a special occasion, so we've been kind of like trying to reimagine the chef's table right now for like a new time and stuff like that, and it's been really cool. Yeah.
Adaptability.
Yeah.
I love the whole aspect of giving the kitchen their own playlist and all that. And it's funny you brought it up, because when I used to make playlists, because at one point there was no music back there, so I just brought a speaker, and then that was kind of like our house speaker that we had in the kitchen, and then I would just build playlists off of like Spotify and different stuff. But like every night when there was an hour left, I started the playlist, and it brought all the guys that because we'd get hammered, and then a song would come on and everyone would go, hey, an hour left, let's go.
Yeah.
But I built the whole thing to be like really heavy, like great music where you're gonna get energized, and then when that's over a half hour, then it starts slowing down, and then by the time we're cleaning up, it's like closing time, and like you're just closing everything out, and by the time you're done, it's an experience you went through with music. And it was so important to everybody's mental health for how crazy a kitchen gets, to like where you can actually, you can feel like we got an hour,
Right.
and that, and then it was like we would add to the playlist, and then if I would forget to put it on, my buddy Alessandro would be like, where's the music? And then I'd be like, oh shit, I'm sorry. But where does that hospitality, where does that treating people this way come from? Where does that, it's so unique to have an owner and manager and somebody treating employees that way, because that is not how I was ever treated. And I feel like maybe the industry's changing a little bit, but when I came through it, it was very like a militant.
Yeah.
I mean, some places I worked at were very similar to what you're saying, but then other places were like, this is how it is, this is how it's going to be, you're not listening to music. And then, there's been a couple places that have been very like that, but either you guys have gone through being treated that way, or it's got to come from the way you were raised. But where does that start with you guys?
I mean, I can field that one if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
So like I said earlier, like I was started in casinos, like heavy corporation, heavy structure, and it did have a mentality of like, hey, you get a negative guest review, like you could be out the door tomorrow. Like we can replace you in a heartbeat, like that kind of attitude. And that really didn't translate. Like I could see it at a young age. I'm like, your staff's walking around on eggshells, like you're gonna make a mistake when you're constantly worried, like, and they're not going to perform. They're not going to want to do their best because, you know, they're miserable. Like they don't care if they leave. So that's not ever how I managed, and it worked for me. And then when I met Jeff, I met an owner that had the same mentality of, I want my guests to be happy. I want them to have a good experience, but we don't need to be militant, like you said. Like, let's set up the SOPs. Let's set up how we expect service to go, how it's supposed to be, but we don't yell. We don't curse, because that's not who we are. If it doesn't work out with who we have, then it'll work itself out. But, you know, and then your employees see that and they have the same attitude. They don't have the, you know, because everyone's worked with that employee too that's like miserable, feisty.
Oh, man, it's the worst.
And they're going to argue you.
Then
and
they start
fight you.
bringing their own problems in life to work, and then
Right.
it's where drama starts. And
So as an owner and a management team, if you have that mentality, then they also adapt that. And also you can, when you're doing the hiring, you can see it. Like you can see what kind of person they're going to be. So that's how, you know, it works out. And then again, it's all about customer service. The guests see it.
yeah,
And just to piggyback off of that, at White Orchids, when we first opened, we were, I think we were like the second restaurant at the Promenade over there, and we were BYO at the time. So being BYO and everything, we had a lot of young staff. It was like, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, you know, because you don't have to be serving, you know, alcohol and everything like that. And through those 12 years of work, we built a big network of Southern Lehigh, Saucon Valley high school kids. So you know, so basically, you know, when you're talking about, you know, structure and being at both restaurants, you probably noticed like the staff at White Orchids are, you know, a little younger than you know the staff at Notch and everything, and just the I think the cultivating of staff over White Orchids was probably you know, a catalyst of how, you know, how my management is a little different than other, you know, corporate managements or different managements, because you have to, you know, working with young people, you know, you can't just, you have to, it's a teaching process, a growing process, and you have to kind of, you know, at that age, everyone's so moldable that you want to be able to teach and to be able to not just you know, strike down or be like a, you know, a Nazi you know, kitchen, or a, you know, a hardcore front of house run establishment and everything. And I guess also being Thai as well too, you know, our kitchen at White Orchids, I don't think, you know, we have two Thai head chefs, and, you know, I think, you know, typically like Thai culture, just quiet, you know, passive, you know, service and friendliness is like all huge, you know. So you know, being at White Orchids for 12 years and opening up Notch, like I don't think we, even in the kitchen at White Orchids or at staff, you know, we never really said like heard, behind, you know, all that stuff. It was kind of like everyone just like did their thing, did it quietly, did it gently, did it smoothly, and it was not structured in that kind of way. So like, you know, moving to starting Notch and everything like that, I think that kind of like culture kind of grew from that aspect of that kind of moldability in teaching and training, and also as a running a kitchen that's also you know, people do, and they, you know, you have expectations for those people, but at the same time it's not, you know, scolding policies, write up stuff like that. It's like everyone just knows what they're doing, do it, and everyone has a good time doing it, you know. So that's kind of, I think, that shift from mixing white orchids with notch.
Yeah.
The other thing to add to that too is you can bark orders all you want, but employees are going to respect what they see. And I have to give credit to Jeff. One thing that I've never seen is an owner that's as hands-on as him. And I'm not just saying that because he signs my check. But when we first started, like, we worked shifts side by side. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was like, he's a great guy. I was like, I'm sure this is going to fade out, though. Like, he's going to sit back and whatever. And it's like, no, Jeff's bussing tables. Jeff's running food. And flash forward to today, Jeff's on the walk. Jeff's making food. Like, and I love it because I've worked in places where there's, my manager said to me, Jesse, you don't bus tables, you don't run food. You can't see the whole forest if you're against one tree. And I'm like, yeah, but if I do these things, then everyone sees it and they do these things. And Jeff has that same mentality.
Well,
So-
I mean that, and also with that, going through the shortness of staff and all that other stuff, seeing Jesse putting a rack through the dishwasher, stuff like that. Like now, like when we're here or there, when we're short, a person in the kitchen, we have the servers come through and they are loading the dishwasher, racking everything up, throwing them in, and that teamwork, that transparency of the front of house and back of house working together, nicely is like very cool. And
It's huge. Coming from somebody who's worked all the way up from, a dishwasher to running a line and all that stuff. I mean, when you have an owner or anybody, a manager working next to you, you don't feel like your job is any lesser. So the guy who's doing the dishes, if the manager or the owner comes and starts helping them load up and then just gives them 5 minutes of conversation, that goes so far into, you don't know if the person wants to leave because they just feel like this job isn't for them. And then it's like when you start working with people, it starts feeling like family. And it was so cool the way you had put your culture into, the way that you're doing things. And I didn't even think of that when you were going through the kitchen. And then I was like, well, man, that makes sense from going from one restaurant to the other and then taking what works over here and then kind of making it a hybrid because you have more room to work on a new palette. But it's pretty unique what you guys have done. And it definitely shows from being in both restaurants. And both restaurants have their own feel. But like when you go to Notch, you could tell it's like another version of White Orchid, but it's like this thing that blossomed out of like really important things that happened at White Orchid.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to put it. I mean, like you're making those delicious smash burgers, right? I mean, who would have thunk that like smash burgers are the best thing, reinventing that in a cool way. Like, you take something that's awesome already and you kind of keep tweaking a little bit here and there, and like just like we were talking about, like throwing different ideas back and forth at each other, like to be able to do something, like reinvent something like that, that's like, I don't know, so cool to be able to, now this is a huge thing, being able to see on social media just like this awesome handheld smash burger, like who would have thunk that would have been like the next cool thing that all these chain restaurants are doing, like awesome with, so yeah, very cool.
When you were talking about adding your culture into it, it goes into a big thing in your decor. And how did you guys come up with, because both restaurants are very cool in their own sense, but Notch, where did that idea and where did the layout, and did you guys hire a designer? Was it the two of you that went over it? Was it somebody that helped with White Orchid? Like, where did the decor come in? Because I feel like that's such an important part of both restaurants because of the feel it gives you.
I think the decor, I think, from having White Orchids for so long, when we first wanted to get into the promenade shops, at the time, again, we were like the second restaurant to go in, But at that time as well too, everything was already taken. So it took a little bit longer for this restaurant to open up, or it took a little bit longer for the store to open up. But we have, if you've been to Wet Orchids, it's a pretty small space. We originally had, being BYO, we only had like a 1,500 square foot space. When you guys were over there, you guys hung out at the bar, which was an addition 2 years afterwards. So we took a back office space of basically like a clothing store, and we bumped it out to turn it into a kitchen. And that kitchen is now like a 400 square foot kitchen that we just crank food out of. And
it's crazy seeing what comes out of small kitchens.
Yeah. and then the bar too. When we had the bar, we it's I think it's like a 9-10 seat bar, and from being able to start on, like you said, a clean slate and grow and do a different palette and everything like that. We wanted to have a bigger kitchen for sure from our great experiences over at Wet Orchids, and also have a bigger bar. So that was like the two big things we wanted to do as well too. We also wanted our patio is also decently small. I mean, over at the Promenade Shops, but also the patio has also been something that's been a really nice thing that people really like going to over there. It looks over at South Mountain. It has some nice views. So we wanted to kind of repeat the same thing, have a nice patio, have that kind of thing, but just like a little bit bigger and everything like that. So when we took that old schoolhouse in the village of Wescoville, we gutted everything and kind of wanted to see what was under everything, what if we took the drop ceiling out, what we would get and stuff like that. So we did have interior designer, and we did have architect help out as well too, and they did a great job with helping to convert this space into what is now Notch and everything. But those were the big things in mind, was to have ability to grow a kitchen with a big space, and also to be able to grow the bar program with a bigger space and everything. So that's kind of when you walk in, you'll notice that we have like a little vestibule for the host to greet guests and stuff like that. At Wet Orchids, when you walk in the door, you're basically right in the restaurant already, and the host station is like right in front of you. So we wanted to have something a little bit different. We wanted to have like its own little space that you're not immediately right there, right in front of everything, So you walk into the host station at Notch, you get the little space that you can, sit down or if there's a wait and stuff like that. And when you walk into the host, after the host station, you're greeted by like a really nice big size bar. You can, immediately grab a seat if you can, because we do have, 20, double the space of the capacity there. So we have 20 seats there, and we wanted to make it welcoming enough that you can grab a spot at the bar. Like you said, you're a foodie, your first spot to go to would be the bar, and then also have room to grow for ideas like chef's table. We do like large format dinners for guests if they want to order 48 hours in advance. We have like a big pork shoulder dinner that chefs put together. So
that's cool.
Just to have that kind of space to grow and everything is kind of what we want to do, and not be limited by the tightness of a lot of restaurants where they're limited by the space and stuff like that. So
it's important too with like growth, and when you push yourself to get into a second project like that. Like I've moved the studio so many times, and every time I've moved it, I've always had friends been like, you're moving again. And I'm like, but every time I move, the studio becomes better because I have more understanding of what should be done correctly with a space. So like with moving the studio into the next space, it's like I know how to do everything because I went through it in a smaller version. So like when I get to upgrade, when you were talking about like, this is the correct way, we should have had the vestibule, and now we can do a bigger thing. Like it's so cool to talk to other people that are pushing themselves to get into a bigger project or a bigger idea, because the further you go with things and the more you expand and get into your uncomfortableness, the more you actually get to do what you really wanted to do in the beginning, and then to be able to change it and then be like, all right, well, this might be a different version of White Orchid, but we're going to do it this way. It's a really way to dump a lot of creativity. I mean, it must have been a blast for you to really be able to be like, all right, well, we can do a bigger bar now. Like, let's do a bigger bar.
Right. I think that investment in growing and then getting some really, good brain power with that, you're invested in that then. So you just want to spend that more to do and to see that in fruition. Like that's kind of, if we want to do White Orchids 2, I think that'd be a little bit more cookie cutter and more just like point and click kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where
or someone would be like, "Hey, I like that White Orchid better. Let's just go there."
Right. so like, just like be able to kind of like put that kind of new ideas. Just like moving to a new studio, you have look, you did a ton of work on this studio. You can see it and in moving and having all these extra ideas, you're gonna put more work into that because you're gonna do the same thing but better and bigger. You know what I mean?
It's exciting. I mean, like, it's stuff like people don't realize. Like, I won't have pillars in the middle of this. Like, these pillars can find camera shots and it has to be on one side, and there really wasn't options to do anything, where the new place, it's like it's wide open. So I was like, oh, man, I could put 3 studios in here, but now I know what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, we can do this for this studio and that for that. So it's exciting. And I always push people to grow and to get out of their comfort zone and to really do it. And it seems like your team is built of people who understand that and care about the employees, but also are into creativity and design, and you guys want experiences. And I feel like it's few and far between anymore where people actually want to give an experience into someone coming into a building. They're either just trying to serve food, or they're missing the mark, or they're not caring about their employees. So it just kind of comes off as a front. But what you guys have is like 2 unique spots that, like, it's an experience to go to either. And that's important for people when they want to get out of their daily nonsense. Because it's like, when I go out to eat, it's because I want to check out. Like, I want to come to the bar, I want to talk to the bartender, I want distractions, I want to be engulfed in what you're doing. And that's why, like, when I was sitting there with Brooks, I was like, I can come back here, I can sit at this bar. I'm like, it's like the lighting, it's like the music, that's all so important, and so many people miss the mark on that.
Yeah, I mean, you've jotted down a bunch of ideas, and you've jotted down a bunch of stories from the experiences, probably at Notch and stuff like that. And there's so many, like, besides just being, we want to be able to showcase the food, and we want to have that creativity and stuff like that. But we're also, it's almost like a mini biodome in there that there, there's a lot of cool relationships, like a lot of cool stories and stuff like that not a lot of like you said, like, going to work is just work, but for having like kind of like pipeline hiring and having staff that we try to
I said
mold
that,
and
Bobby.
cultivate, like that kind of just is cool, because there's a lot of cool things going on because of the relationships that we've formed, and that kind of you're hands on, I'm hands on, and it's a cool family kind of thing.
You have to be.
And like he said, nothing worth anything. Nobody got there by playing it safe. Like, you got to throw a risk out. You got to try a dish that might sound crazy. Our bar team is awesome with experimenting with different fruits, different vegetables, where they pitch it to you and you're like, I don't know, that might be interesting. And then they work it out. And then it's like, all right, this is good, maybe a little too acidic. And then they work it out. And then it's like, this drink's amazing. Like, I would order
Yeah,
this.
I think what I did was I was just like dealer's choice. Like if you know you have a bartender that like knows what they're doing, I'll just be like, yeah, just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then they get excited because they're making something different,
'Cause they
or
enjoy
it's
it.
something that they're gonna maybe put on the menu, or and then like I said, I mean, she came over and was like, try this, let me know what you think. Now I'm trying it, and then she does her thing, and then comes back, and then now we're now interacting again, and then like that's my favorite part of like going out, and it's that, and it's like I'm not even thinking about anything, all my problems are gone, and I'm just like sitting here and being like, I'm focused on the drink, I'm focused on the food, I'm focused on the interaction, and it's like all that was going on, and it was, leaving, I was like, man, that was really cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be life or death to experiment. Like,
No.
like, that's the beauty with bartending. They come up with a beverage. You don't like it. All right, well, that's unfortunate. Guess what? We'll come up with something else.
Yeah.
And you will like it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to go home saying they can't make a drink. So,
Right, that's the same with the food too.
And
I think most of the time, that's I think that's the reason why definitely I got into hospitality and the food industry, and probably the same way with you. Like Jesse, it's so rewarding, and also at the same time, it's people, like you said, people when they go to a restaurant, they want to just go and have a good time, and you're not going into something that you're not going to like if you're working at a funeral home, the people that are coming in are not going to be on the same level as someone going to like a restaurant. You're going in to celebrate something.
they're certainly leaving in a different kind of way.
But like, yeah, I mean, just you're going in to have your mood uplifted, or you're going in to enjoy something new, or wanting to try something different, and it's you're already starting at a good level when you have the guests coming into the restaurant, and then you leave. The hope is that you leave with guests being satisfied with I think there's so much, people always usually say like, the food's awesome, but then also the beverages are also great too. It's all encompassing, and that's
the goal.
And I think that's why you like dining at the bar so much, because not only can you get that food service, but also the cocktails and drinks. Like that's a whole package that a lot of people don't realize.
If you have a great bartender who's going to hold the room, it's a way different experience than sitting at a table. And then when I started learning, especially like I go out a lot, like by myself, so it's like I'll just like quick go places, and then it's like you get way more time interacting with somebody if you want to, or you can just be quiet. But I really enjoy when you have a bartender, one, who knows what they're doing, so you can play around with drinks. Well, because it'll be like, well, I like gin. All right, well, what can I get you with gin? Do whatever you want with gin. And then it's like, now it's this like third thing that's now coming into the mix. Or you can sit there and be like, hey, I'll just take this. And, they're going to pick up whether or not you want to be bothered. So it's like, I always enjoyed the interactions like that.
From the other side of the table, I've never bartended in my life. But like as a manager, one of your main responsibilities is go around and do table touches, see how the guests are doing, how they're enjoying everything, make conversation. I find it much easier to do and more enjoyable behind the bar. Like a lot of times I'll help them when they're busy, do dishes, do beer and wine and stuff like that. But like talking with guests, it's much more fun, and it's much, less, I don't know.
Formal.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, because when people are sitting, you're standing up, you feel like you're lording over them, and I can tend, for as good a personality as I am, I can be awkward from time to time.
Sure.
My staff laughs at me because a lot of times I'll do like a bow. But behind the bar, like it's just more easy. So like I could see as a guest why that's more enjoyable, and from
I think with the bar atmosphere you also have is like sometimes, you get people who want to be interacting. You want to be, because you're usually going to talk to the person next to you. Oh, what did you get to eat? That's if you're at but a good bar that has good people at it. And there was a couple down at the end that was having fun, and, he was having drinks and they were getting food, and they didn't care if, hey, what did you get? Like there's way more interaction than, but when you're sitting at a table, you kind of do want that intimate atmosphere.
Right. And when it comes to table touching too, from a management standpoint, you have to read the guests.
Yeah.
Some guests are like, I want you to engage me. I want you to ask me, how my life is going.
Yeah. Therapy. They want therapy.
And then there are the guests that are like, hey, I appreciate what you're
Yeah.
doing, but move along. I'm here to talk to
yeah.
this person.
Yeah.
So it's, it's part of reading people. That's, part of being a manager.
Yeah. You guys do a great job at it. What do you guys see coming down the pipe for Notch as far as like what you're doing? Because I know there's like outside seating there. So like, what do you guys have coming down for the summer or going into the new year?
I think one thing that we wanted to definitely grow past COVID is reinventing that chef's table, being able to kind of get back to that normal original concept of that, like being able to listen to the crescendo of the epic song during like the biggest rush of a Saturday night at the chef's table, trying these well presented dishes that are unique to just the chef's table that night. That's kind of like, I think, what we would love to like get back to, because we definitely miss that a lot. Right now we're doing interviews in the chef's table. We'll have them for special occasions, meetings. We'll have anniversaries, dinners there. But yeah, we definitely would like to get back to kind of like a cool norm, for the chef's table.
Sorry, what I was going to say too, personal goal of my own, I started my career in banquets, and we have really great private event space upstairs. We've done...
I forgot you guys had that upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, Notch is deceptively large.
Yeah.
Like, people come in, and when they ask to take a look around, they're like, you have an upstairs? You have a patio? Like, you have this, like...
Yeah, there's a ton of room. Because when I was walking
Yeah.
around to take pictures, I was like, holy shit. I was like, there's a lot of space here.
So from a personal standpoint, for goals for Notch, I would really like to see our private parties take off even more than they have. We have a really great culinary crew that we've done a few baby showers lately and bridal showers where we just started doing like buffet style.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound crazy, but like it's always adapting. Like we did in the beginning for private parties, plated, pharmaceuticals, doctors' offices, stuff like that, and that's great. But like it's fun to do these other things that people can celebrate at our restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like a lot of emails come through about rehearsal dinners for weddings and stuff like that. So it's nice to be able to utilize that space for something that we kind of had the opportunity to do, but didn't with everything going on the past 2 years. But it is cool, like when we're doing one of those larger baby showers or rehearsal dinners, like to see it's a different format of cooking for the culinary team and being able to present things differently. It's I think it's fun for everybody and to be able to again, like everyone's typically in a restaurant coming in for a good time, but this is a different experience. A wedding rehearsal is something that we don't get to experience too much, but to see like a group like that go come out like super happy, like it doesn't happen often. And chiming with Jesse, like it would be really cool to continue that, because that's a unique experience for us as well too.
And it's a great space upstairs. It really is. Like we're very flexible with what we can do, how we can do the layouts, and people come in, they check it out, and they're like, hey, what do you think about if you move the tables over here, over there? It's like, whatever you want. Like, we want you to have a good time. Like, we want you to have an experience. Like, it's not the same experience as dining in the restaurant, but it still should be a great one,
Yeah, it's cool. You guys have so many different levels to that, where there's the bar, there's the dining, there's the chef's table, there's the upstairs. It's like, it's really cool what you've put together in one spot to do so many different things. And I love that, because I work in a similar fashion where it's important to have things to pivot to.
Yeah, we want to attack on all fronts.
Yeah, and it's like not only the attack, but it's like then you have different options for creating, where it's not, you're just not doing, it's not ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Yeah.
It's like you're coming into work, it's like, all right, cool, we have this thing going on at the bar, we have a thing going on upstairs, and it's like, it's way more interactive as an employee or owner or boss or manager to be able to do multiple things and then have different areas where you can capitalize on making money or having different experiences, instead of just having one single spot that you're coming in doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be repetitive, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
I have to be constantly distracted, so it's like I love like I told my mom when I went out to Vegas, I said it's the first time I've ever been so distracted I could concentrate. But like
That's a good line.
she was like, oh my god. But like for me to be able to like do cooking, do podcasting, do apparel, and then like, you know, do all this different stuff, like it always is feeling fresh. I can always turn to something and there always needs to be work done. It's like when you master one thing and you just have control over it and you're doing it and it works, like it becomes so boring. So to have 4 assets of things that you can just, you know, I think it's probably 5 with the outside. Like you have so many different places to work and move around, and you can move employees to different areas, and then it's, you know, more enjoyable for them. But like what you guys have pulled off, and I want to start wrapping up because you guys definitely need to get back to your restaurants, but like what you guys have pulled off and like the atmosphere and the experiences and like between White Orchid and Notch is like a really cool thing to have in the area. And I think more people, if you haven't gone to experience either of them, it's an experience in their own in both locations. I really like how you guys work together, even how you brought me in and we sat down and had a drink and like went over the podcast. Like that goes so far, and it's what I try and do with each guest, but you guys had already wanted to do that, and like it just goes to show the type of people you are. And I think you guys have created something really cool in the Valley, not once but twice. I'm gonna give you guys time to kind of close out and like let the viewers know where the restaurants are located, what social media to follow, and like where you can find out more about Notch and White Orchid.
Okay. So we are on Facebook under Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar. We are located at 5036 Hamilton Boulevard.
Got it.
3 years and I still struggle with that, and I handle all the emails. But no, we are located across from Hamilton Crossing. On your left is Ethan Allen. You know, right on that busy road. Come in, see us. Ask for Jeff. Ask for myself. We'd love to make sure you have a good time.
Yeah, we have a good Instagram account too. It's Notch MKNB. Our menus have the QR code, so you can kind of like if you go to the restaurant and you want to just put your phone up to the menu, you can visually see all the dishes, which is great because people come in and like, oh, I don't even know what to get, you know. So you check out the drinks on there, check out the food. So yeah, I think that's a cool thing we offer as well.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
I will be definitely coming back. We're going to be doing a multiple of these shows because you guys have so many different things. So I'm actually excited to pick through White Orchid and then bring a couple of the other people involved. So when we finally figured out what we want to do, and after how well this podcast went, I'm really excited to get into the next two. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's neveragainstudio.com. Follow the YouTube. We're building that. We want to get those subscribers up, and then we could do way more on YouTube. So it's neveragainstudio.com, has the apparel. Spotify and iTunes is really the only thing I'm going to push you to, and that's Never Again Studio on that. And then that has all of our previous episodes. All of the videos are on YouTube. You can check it out. Go check these guys' restaurants out. It is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.